So Arya, last time we wrote this simple program, right, where we ask for input from the user from the keyboard, then you type something in and you press enter, and after that we print hello, and then we print whatever you entered, the whatever you entered in the input. Now, so the question here is that first thing we want to discuss is what is identifier. Alright, so first term we will learn today is what are called identifier. So what is identifier, Arya, do you know?
No, I don't.
So identifiers are basically, the identifiers are basically name. Identifiers are names for variables, name given to variable.
So basically, variables are names.
Variables, comma function, etc. So there are other things also we will name, but the idea is that for now we have to learn that functions and variables will have some name, right? So for example, input, this is an identifier for the input function, right? Name is an identifier for the variable which we want to store whatever we got from the input function. Similarly, so why do we need identifier? So we need identifier because we have to refer to different names in your program, right? So we have to call multiple times print function, right? So we have to name it, right? So in the real world, right? So suppose your name is Arya. So Arya is the identifier for you. Yeah. So my name is Deepak. So Deepak is the identifier for me. Similarly, your school has a name, right? Montrepar School. So that has an identifier for your school. So identifier does not mean the school. It means
The
it means
specific
that identifier is a way to refer to the school. So if somebody want to refer to your school, they will tell the name of the school. So it refer to the school. So right. So what do you think is what are the rules for naming identifiers in Python? So what are the rules? So do you know what are the rules for naming? Identifiers.
So the first rule is you can't use space. You have to use underscore.
So the rule is basically the identifier should start using underscore
instead of space
or any letter. So it should start with underscore or letters, right?
Yeah.
Letters means A to Z or A to Z small letters, small or the lowercase, right? So afterwards, the first letter, what is allowed? Afterwards,
and
any letter, number or underscore is allowed, or underscore
you're not allowed numbers,
is
right?
allowed. Yeah, it is allowed. Oh yeah, that's the rule. So you understand, the first has to be either underscore or a letter, and afterwards you are allowed to use
a number.
You are allowed to use any number of
Oh, you can't begin with a number.
Yeah, any number of letters, right? That means A to Z. Numbers means 0 to 9, or underscore is allowed, right? So let's ask you the questions. You understand the rule? So let me ask you some question. Which are the following is not a
what you
identifier?
just wrote is a comment.
So if you write something like 0, 5, underscore, is this an identifier?
No.
What about, is this an identifier? No. What about, is this an identifier?
Yes.
So you can also see that the Thoni is able to tell, right, that oh, this is not an identifier. Identifiers should look like this, right? This color, right? So this is not looking like an identifier, but this looks like an identifier. So you can say You can say like this and it will work. Okay. What about this one? So this one is an identifier also, right?
Yeah.
So this is also an
Because it
identifier.
doesn't start with.
Yeah. So you can do these things and this will work. But if you do the above one, they will
Give it error.
error. So we're just gonna delete the before one, and we'll just try to run it, and you can see this will give error. Yeah, it is complaining. It's not an invalid decimal. It's confused. It is saying it is a decimal. So if you start with a number, it assumes that it's probably a number. It's not an identifier. So that's why it's confused. So you don't want these. But this one is fine. If you run it, it will run fine. It didn't do anything because
You have to print it.
yeah, you have to print it. So yeah, it works fine. So this is the identifier. So what else about identifier? So how should, like, see, identifiers are about name, right? And we use name to remember things, right? So we should have good names. So if we don't have good names, what will happen? We can't remember things. You will get confused. You will not remember things. So for example, if your variable name is like this,
then you have.
so what is the problem with this identifier?
It's long.
It's long, right? So it's long, very long. Okay. So it's not a very, it's a very long identifier.
You could write print name.
Yeah. What about this one? What do you think about the problem with this one?
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You want something which makes sense to you, some name which you can remember. This you cannot remember anywhere, right? So yeah, this is problematic, right? So you want your names to be small and something you can remember easily,
Yeah.
right? That's a very thing.
Like
That's a
if
very
you-
important thing.
Like if you have a variable of name,
Yeah.
you can store someone's name in it.
Yeah. So like for example, student name. This is a pretty good variable name. So maybe we are storing a name of the student, right?
Or
Or
students.
school name. So we are talking
Monterey
about the
Park.
we are talking about the school name. It could be Monterey Park, it could be Guy Vedic, or it could be any other school, right? So these are like good names, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So this is how you should want to name. Now let's ask you. Suppose, can I name a variable input?
No.
Why?
Because like there's already another variable.
So there is already an identifier with the name input which
But-
points to a function. So we cannot use the input name because there is already
like,
an identifier.
If you unless add a capital I to it.
Yeah, you can make a capital I, but that's what we don't want to use. We want to name our variables small case, okay, separated by underscore. That's generally the rule we'll use. So we will have all our variables or
That's
identifier.
good because it has an underscore in it.
Yeah, so that's how we want to name things. We want to name things in small letters or small case, and they are separated by underscore if there are two names. Okay, that's how we will name things. Okay, what else do we want to remember? Okay, what about this? Is this a variable? Is this can be used as an identifier?
No.
So no, because
Because for is like a function.
for is a keyword.
Ooh.
So we cannot use
For.
keywords as an identifier. Keywords as identifier because they have special meaning.
Uh-huh.
For has
The
special
ones
meaning. So
that
for example, for, do, def, right? What else are a special meaning? If, and maybe etc. All of them are there. So these are special meanings. So we cannot use them as keyword.
The ones with the bold letters,
Yeah.
they are supposed to be in as keyboards.
Yep.
Keywords.
So that's it. So these are keywords, right? Yeah, that's how the Thoni is. Thoni kind of make it bold. But if you use other ID, they might have different syntax.
Or
highlighted.
probably colors.
Yeah, different colors. Okay. So that's how we have identifier.
And if you add a hash, it's gonna become a comment.
Oh yeah. So that's another thing. So whenever we write something which starts with a hash, that is not. You can write anything there, and it will not be executed by the program. So you can
Like
write
if
anything.
you execute
Yeah.
this, it will not do anything.
Yeah, so let's just make like a simple, like for example, let's say your name, let's say like, name, we can take it for input, right? And then we can talk about, let's say, school name, and we can take again input, and then print So you can print there's a name, and then we're gonna say and is equal to empty, and again we'll print goes to, okay,
brackets, like I think it's
and
goes to name,
print
goes to
school name.
Goes to school. What? That would be weird. Whatever.
So let's see what it does. Okay, so first one is you have to, let's say, input. We can write enter your name, and then
Enter
your school name, right? So let's say I just print it. So enter your name. What is your name? Arya, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to
Monterey
Park.
I don't think so. That's how you spell Monterey.
School.
Oh.
Okay. So let's see how it prints. So it's going Arya goes to Monterey Park School.
But there's no space in
Yeah,
Arya.
so we forgot to put the space. So we'll put the space. So yeah.
Okay, now try.
Now you try.
Arya?
Arya
Monterey Park.
Monterey Park School. Okay. So Arya goes to Monterey Park School, right? So this is how. So we took the input, and when we took multiple input, and then we print those input in a different format, right? So that's it. So we learned about identifiers today, right? So that identifiers are very important. We want to give good names, and if you give good names, then you will be able to understand and understand a program easily. Otherwise, it will be hard to understand. Okay.